So we're here for another week of the climb, and if you don't know my guest, you really should, because not only is she a big part of Team Garbo, she's a big part of my life. And I like to call her Miss Debbie, but she has many taglines. But I'll let her introduce herself. We have Debbie Venus with us this week on the climb.
Hi,
Woo!
everybody. Glad to be here. I'm Debbie Venus, also Miss Debbie, also Mama V. I am a retired Council Rock educator, and I'm here tonight to talk about children and their mental health as far as elementary is concerned. And I have a lot of experience with children with needs, and I've seen a lot of changes over the last couple of years, especially after COVID. I've seen so many children have issues from being isolated, from having to do school on a computer, just a multitude of different things. And I think that we need to open a dialogue with schools and parents about children's mental health. We need to make it normal. We need to take the stigma away.
Yeah, and that's actually like pretty much what you were saying to me when I brought the idea to Team Garbo to you. Um, what back in 2018, that
Yeah.
you loved the idea and you're like, hey, we got to attack the schools. They have to be talked to because I think you're at the time working with 10-year-olds, right?
Well,
Um,
yes. Yeah.
so around 10 you're like I'm noticing it with my students, and and you have such a big network in the school district at the time and still do that it doesn't go away. And I think that's the biggest focus that you've had with Team Garbo that we've tried to address. But the outreach, and it only goes so far when we can only talk to people at our fundraisers and social media. And I think getting you on here and sharing your experience, because even if it's not local to us, there is such a stigma around it of mental health from basically elementary school to college, and people don't want to talk about this and something that you've experienced. So can you tell me more about the experiences you've, witnessed firsthand or maybe secondhand as an educator around children or even teenagers and their mental health?
The biggest thing that a lot of children have is anxiety. I think they are under so much pressure to succeed and perform that sometimes I think, especially at an elementary level, they're not allowed to be children. They're not
Mm.
allowed to relax. And I think society and the pressures we put on education has a lot to do with that. Education is extremely important, but it's the way we educate that I think is important. I think that we need to back off a little bit or to have a safe space for those children for their mental health, because it's not going to help them if they're so stressed out that by the time they get through middle school and into high school, they can't perform at all. They
Mm.
are just beside themselves. And we don't need them to be one of the statistics
Mm.
and unalive themselves. We don't need that. And that's what I was reading through the Mental Health America, that children ages 10 to 24, the second major cause of death was suicide.
Wow.
And that is not okay. Not
Yeah.
okay at all, as far as I'm concerned, especially if we can change that by giving them a little bit of knowledge of taking care of their mental health.
Yeah, it's hard to hear that, right? That's a pretty daunting stat. But I mean, if you really think about it, like children are and teenagers and high schoolers, they have everything at their fingertips, more than they ever had before. And if they're on a social media platform, they're looking at perfection, or on even on any type of YouTube or video or TikTok. They're seeing this perfect thing that's not necessarily real life. And I know that it's added a lot of pressure onto people my own age, let alone children, seeing stuff. So when you mention anxiety, I mean, it's hard for someone that grew up in a different generation to understand, but there's clearly these, outside pressures that are probably not even coming within the household or even within the classroom that are affecting children. So,
If the anxiety doesn't get nipped in the bud, then the depression comes in.
mhm.
And they don't, little children certainly don't understand depression. So there has to be a way that we open a dialogue and make it so that it's like we're talking to them about diabetes or a heart condition. Children
Mhm.
have childhood diabetes, they have heart conditions, they have things that, even an allergy, and it's so normalized now. If you remember when you were in school, it was a big deal to have a peanut allergy. Now it's like everybody is so calm and matter of fact about it, and they just deal with it. That's what I want to see with mental health in the education system. I don't want it to be a stigma for these children that they're afraid to say something to their parents or to their teachers. I want them to be comfortable, feel warm, loved, and want to come to school and learn.
Yeah, and you never know where that as a youth, where that anxiety can spiral, and that's a story that you're telling your own self, and you're getting lost in this fear of unknown, right? And if you're starting that in as a young child, you're starting to have anxiety, and you're not talking about your feelings, well, then you're just going to basically start suppressing your feelings and
Yes,
finding ways to, right? So finding ways to really just keep suppressing and keep moving forward because that's what's right. But what Miss Debbie, I completely agree about is if you open that dialogue right away, that foundation of suppression is no longer there because you're normalizing the stigma behind, hey, listen, I feel this way. Well, it's okay, let's talk about it because so and so feels the same way, and I wouldn't have never known if I didn't open my mouth. And I really
exactly.
agree with that. I agree with that open forum concept because you just never know who's going through the same, through the same problems. So
Exactly.
even to that, when we're talking having anxiety about what other people are thinking about you or anything in that nature, I know with myself when I was first diagnosed bipolar disorder 10 years ago, from now you have so many more people are opening up, hey, I have gone through this, I've gone through this, and then you don't know that chain reaction of community until you open up yourself and start talking about it. So,
Exactly.
starting that early as a foundation of education, you're right. I mean, it's the same conversation that needs to be had with any physical health or any conversations around that.
Definitely. It's extremely important. And I think that a partnership needs to be made between the schools and the parents,
Hmm.
where there's a comfort level and there's an open dialogue and there is communication on where to go, what to do. In schools, we teach health, down to the basic washing your hands when the children are small, the younger grades. There can be a way to give the information to the children at a younger age, just little bits of it, to get them comfortable about it, to get them able to talk that it's something
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. So as you go older, you learn more about health things. As the children get older, they learn more about the mental health. I think that it would make life so different for these
Yeah,
children.
it
And
would.
when they become adults.
Yeah. No, I mean, you never know. Like I kept saying that suppression and whatnot, but like so many people have a foundation of glass because they're built on hiding their feelings, and it's happened with me too. And at a young age, not being comfortable sharing, hey, I don't like being different, and kind of just suppressing that. So I agree, opening the conversation and having almost like this triangle of conversation, communication with the teacher, the parent and the student and the child. Um, to kind of wrap it up here, I mean, in 30 seconds or in a minute, if you have a takeaway for a parent or even teacher, because you've worn both shoes, um, what would that be in regards to the children and their mental health going forward?
I think it needs to be a partnership between parents and educators. I think if they work together, not work against each other, but work together. Children are in a classroom for 6 to 7 hours a day with their teachers, with their other educators, different people that are school employees that see them, and they're with their families. They both know those children. Sometimes they know them different because a child can be different at one place or another. So
Mm.
that's important that the teachers and the parents discuss this so that if they see a child is having a behavior that isn't the norm or something that's off, they would know about it. They can come together, they can talk about it. The teacher can give the parents information where to go, what to do next. The parents can then get a heads up, okay, maybe I need to go to see a personal doctor on the
Mm.
outside. But there are avenues with education in the schools to go also. But I think that that's the most important thing, a partnership.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I feel like it's been dramatized. The whole what is it, back to school night or parent teacher conference, and it's been on TV, and you see all these things, and I'm sure it's different now. But what you're mentioning is really like this open line of asymmetry of everyone working together, and I don't see how it could be any other way because like you said, there's so many things going on, and you have to loop in other people. It takes full commitment, and if you're truly, interested in, really beating the stigma behind mental health, it's going to take full commitment from everyone, and to make most importantly, to make the child feel comfortable.
Yeah,
So,
you don't want that child doesn't want to be labeled as different. That
mhm.
child wants to be normal. And if they feel there's a stigma, if they open their mouth to say something feels off, something is wrong, they're not feeling right, they're not going to say anything.
Yeah, yeah, it's the biggest goal we have at Team Garbo is to normalize the stigma behind mental health.
That's right.
I mean, just talk to anyone. They're either directly or indirectly impacted by mental health. And I think, with children, it's especially in this day and age, as we grow up, it's not gonna leave us. Everyone's gonna be attached to it somehow. So we might as well get used to it.
I agree.
So, if you have anything else, we can leave it here, and we'll
I
definitely have you on again. This was a great conversation.
I think we're good for tonight. I think I I gave you a lot of information about
Yes,
my feelings.
yes, yes. Which we can take them all anytime. So everyone that sees anything about Team Garbo, our social media, that's all Miss Debbie. Our fundraising, she is a huge part of that. Been with Team Garbo since the inception, hasn't missed a beat with us. So truly grateful for you, Miss Debbie, for everything you do with Team Garbo, but what you do in my life as well.
Thank you, honey. I love you.
Love you too. All right, guys. Well, here's to another good one, and hopefully we'll see you next time.